different way to see Ottawa.
It's quite a beautiful little trip. What a great view.
Isn't that nice?
Oh yeah, better than a taxi ride.
Charlie Angus, welcome to Plane Talk. Good to have you here.
Hey, this is a great way to travel. Could you pick me up on Sunday? I got a 6-hour drive. I'd much rather come this way.
But you're from Northern Ontario. You must be used to this.
I've gotten over my fear of flying in little planes. If you're going to serve some of the communities I serve, definitely.
You know how this works. We sort of get to know you. We ask you some off-the-wall questions and talk a little bit about your political career.
I kind of thought that once you got me in the plane, then I couldn't get out, and then you could throw all the hard questions you want at me.
Well, there's always the implied threat that if I don't like your answers, I just lean over, open the door, and out you go.
I get it. I'm.
And then there's a by-election.
There's a by-election. It'd be one hell of a by-election. Yeah.
What got you involved in politics? What was it about this profession that attracted you?
Well, to tell you the truth, not a lot about the profession ever attracted me. I never thought of myself as a politician, but I know it sounds crazy dramatic, but I was standing on a blockade with farmers and First Nation people in Northern Ontario on the Adams Mine dump road because it was a project that I think could have had enormous environmental risk, and that the people who should have been there to protect the interests of the environment, of due process, of the region, failed us. And I swore that night on that road that I would never be in that position again, that we needed people in Ottawa or people in Queen's Park who would do the due diligence, who would make sure that our region, if projects went ahead, they were done because they were being done right. And I decided that I would go and try and be a voice on issues that matter to people in my region.
So you've approached politics as an activist then?
Well, I think that it's really important that when you come to politics, whatever political angle you come from, you're going there to represent the interests of your people. And sometimes that means being more of an activist, but it also means just doing the due diligence. And I found in the process that I've been dealing with in my region, that people just rubber stamp stuff all along the way. They went along with the flow. Sometimes they didn't even seem to read the reports. And I mean, that's not good enough. So yeah, I didn't even own a suit. I got a $100 suit, put my name on a ballot, and lo and behold, I won.
Before you got interested in politics, you had another passion, and that was music.
Yeah, I left school when I was 17 with Andrew Cash.
Also an NDP member of Parliament.
Yeah, Andrew was a member of Davenport, and we went on the road for a number of years with the band L'Étranger, and then I formed another band, the Grievous Angels, which was more of a country folk band. As you get older, you can't really play punk rock. It just, well, that's my feeling. It's you don't cut it as well. So I love the Angels, and again, it's storytelling, it's traveling. I love seeing Canada. I have such a deep love affair with this country, and to me, songs are a way we tell that story. But I bring that same passion, I hope, to politics. We should be storytellers. We should be telling the stories of our people in Parliament and making change.
Do you ever miss being a musician?
I miss it all the time. I go into my office at 7 in the morning and practice the guitar. I don't miss...
What are you thinking of a comeback?
Well, the Angels, we went on the road 2 summers ago out to Vancouver and up through the Kootenays and Calgary, but it's a hard life too, but I like the music. I love playing. I play in my riding all the time, so music is part of me. It's something I do, and I don't think just because you're a politician you can't do the stuff that makes you passionate.
Of all the songs that you have ever played, what's your favorite?
My favorite song is actually a very obscure Scottish song by Ewan MacColl, who I just love. He wrote Dirty Old Town. He wrote a song called The Shoals of Herring, and there's something about it. It's about the Scottish fisherman, and
Can you give me a bar or two of it?
Oh, well. With our nets and gear we're faring on the wild and wistful ocean. It's out there on the deep that we harvest and reap our bread as we hunt the bonny shoals of herring.
And what speaks to you about that song?
There's something about capturing the stories of the fishermen, about working people, and somehow it ties us to a bigger story. And I've never been quite able to explain that thing that music does, but music speaks to a truth in all of us. And I always find politicians talk, sometimes words are devalued, but music, a really true song, you know it in your heart, it's true. I've never been on a fishing boat in northern Scotland, but that song speaks to me, and I think that that's what songs should be able to bring us together.
What's your single greatest regret?
My single greatest regret? I don't know. I try not to live with regrets. Maybe Jack's death, maybe. That, I got into politics because of Jack Late, and his death just seemed such a tragedy. So that's a larger regret, personal regret side. You got to move on.
Or as Frank Sinatra said,
yeah.
Regrets I've had a few?
Yeah, regrets. Hey, now there's a guy. If I could sit down and have a couple of glasses of scotch with somebody, I think I'd want to do it with Frank Sinatra. Yeah.
Let me ask you, look, the NDP right now is going through a process of finding a new leader and therefore a new direction. Your name comes up over and over again. Are you going to run for the leadership of the party?
Well, we have a very, very, very long leadership race. And I don't think you're going to see anybody stepping forward probably till December, January. So there's going to be a lot of time for those decisions.
Have you thought about it, though?
Well, people are calling me a lot, yeah. It's a heck of a job to take on, but I really want to make sure that we get get focused this September. So I'm going to stay on as caucus chair for now and do that. But this is going to be a big undertaking, the rebuilding of the party and getting out and talking to our base. They've been looking for us. They're saying, where are you guys? Come on, time to get back to work. So it's going to be a big undertaking. So stay tuned. It's going to be an interesting race.
But if nominated, you would serve?
I did not say that yet.
That's a question.
That's a question. I haven't got that far.
All right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you about politics in general, because you say you got in as an activist,
yeah.
and you still consider yourself to be one. What is the single most redeeming factor about politics? Because this is a really tough life for politicians. It's long hours, it's time spent away from home. What's that one thing, single thing that makes it worthwhile?
There's a lot of the work that you do in Ottawa that is important, the committee work, being in the House of Commons. But for me, it's making those phone calls to help somebody who's being denied the most basic needs. Sometimes I've got families from James Bay who are in a motel and they're being sent home and their daughter hasn't had a chance to get properly looked at the hospital. Sometimes when you make a call, things happen. And that to me, it's that public service. Those are those moments of helping a widow, helping someone who figures they got no one else to turn to. They call Charlie Angus's office and me or my staff. When we can make the difference for someone, wow, that's an honor to have. I've never ever taken that honor lightly.
If there's one trait that you could give yourself, what would it be?
I'm a terrible skater. From Northern Ontario.
I don't know. Some of the answers have been pretty good skating.
Yeah, I could skate politically, but I'm a terrible. I think, in politics, it's to try and be as truthful as possible, and that's difficult. People.
When do you lie?
What?
When do you lie?
Well, I think that you want your yes to mean yes and your no mean no, and in politics, to try and be as straightforward as you can with people is really important. And I think if we had a little more of that, I think if we had a little more just politicians who came in and said, listen, the books are in bad shape. We're not going to be able to do everything, but these are the things we're going to do, and we're going to do them for the long term, and we're going to do them right. That's political courage, and sometimes I think in politics we get more spin than courage, and so to be courageous, that's not afraid of things, because sometimes you're going to get ridiculed, but I think in the long term you're better off if you can actually say what you're going to do and say what you're not going to do.
If you could choose one person in history, sit down and have a beer with, who would that be?
Well, I said I'd have a scotch with Frank Sinatra. That would definitely be someone. You know, in terms of Canadian history, we've had such fascinating leaders. I mean, I never got to meet Tommy Douglas. I think I'd really like to sit down with Tommy, but I didn't know if Tommy drank beer or not, so...
But you've got the whole sweep of humanity, and you want a beer with Tommy Douglas?
Oh, close enough to me. You know, there are a lot of I mean, Abraham Lincoln to me is a fascinating character. A really, you know, a man at a time of such profound crisis in American history. I've always been fascinated by Abraham Lincoln and the role he played. But again, I don't know if he drank beer, so that's why Frank. Now Frank drank. Frank, man, I'd be pretty cool with Frank.
Now, Charlie, I'm assuming because you're from Northern Ontario and you've been in these planes before going to various parts of your riding that you really know a lot about planes, float planes.
Well, I've been in them. I got a provincial colleague who tried to talk me into going halvesies on a plane, but I said, well, that'd be one hell of a by-election if we blew it. So, why, you want me to fly this thing?
That's the idea. So you got to put the feet on the pedals.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll just sort of walk you through it a little bit. So it's like carving a turn in skiing. So it's a little bit of this and a little bit of right pedal.
Okay.
You go along like that.
So the right pedal is doing what?
The right pedal is skewing you.
Okay.
And you got to make sure that you're not diving, though, which is what you're doing.
Okay, so that's pulling up.
So you just sort of try and scan the horizon.
Okay.
And then if you want to go up, just pull back gently. You see, you don't have to do much of it like that.
Yeah.
If you want to go down,
whoa,
you go like that.
Okay. So if I just want to go straight.
If you just want to go straight, then touch nothing. But you see how your nose is coming up?
Yeah.
So try a left-hand turn.
Okay.
I mean, I say a left-hand turn because I figure you're more comfortable with a left-hand turn than a right-hand turn.
So we're going over towards that lake, series of lakes.
You're doing not badly.
Yeah. Okay. I did this up in James Bay once, but we were in heavy clouds.
Before or after you started?
Well, yeah, I had to put my foot out to see, to feel the, if we were hitting the tree line. It was up on the Moose River. Okay, so
bring it down this way here.
Okay, so we're heading over that way.
Yeah, even just bring it right down this way here.
Okay, so is that,
I just sort of follow the river back down. You're doing fairly well.
Well, thank you.
I mean,
if God wanted us to fly in these things, He would have given us born us with a black box. So,
okay.
Okay, so I'm okay.
So you see the river here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just sort of fly this side of the river.
Okay.
So it stands to reason that a kid from Northern Ontario would know something about flying along rivers and lakes and so on. What is it about that part of the world that that you love so much?
Wow, to me it's in my soul. I love the North. I love the bush. I love the rocks. You know, I think it was, who said it? The Spanish philosopher said, show me the landscape of where you're from and I'll tell you who you are. That to me is really about the North. The North is a land, it's rugged, but it's the people. The people are very much carved by the land. The work is rough, hard, but there's a sense of fraternity because you need each other. I couldn't live anywhere. I've traveled I love all of Canada. I love the prairies. But I always come back to the North and Cobalt, Temagami region, the White Pines, the rivers, and the rock. I don't know. I just love the rock.
You love Eastern Canada?
Yeah, well, my mother's Cape Bretner, so, you know.
And British Columbia, you love that?
I love the Kootenays, yep.
So you are running for national leader.
No, I mean, I am deeply in love with the landscape of Canada, the people. That was the great thing about touring, was you see a different way of Canada. So am I still on the river here?
Well, you're sort of getting a little close to it. I'd move out a little bit. Politics is not forever.
No.
When the political ride is over for you, what do you want to do?
Number one, I want to go back home. I love my town, little town of Cobalt, and I love writing, I love history. I'd love to start playing music again. In my mind, there is a world outside of politics, and it's it's the world that I love. I think that it's really dangerous if you just think, "Whoops, why am I?"
Going all over the sky?
Yeah.
I was about to ask you the same question.
You got me all confused there. That's you're trying to anticipate me losing an election, and I got panicky there for a second. So
I wouldn't do that to you.
okay, so
Yeah. There we go. Now you've straightened it out.
yeah, okay. Ah,
Great.
you're really trying to scare me.
You're driving.
I know.
You're scaring me, not the other way around.
Freak! I can't believe you'd let me ride your plane. I mean, I've always had suspicions about you, but now I'm really gotta. I mean, I gotta call your producer. Like, this is nuts, man. This is really whacked. You let Charlie Angus fly your plane?
I'm on a 15-minute break, so.
Oh shit. Okay.
Okay, so you know what I'm going to do?
What?
I'm going to take it over so that you can concentrate on talking. Okay, I've got the plan.
Okay. I think you're just going down that direction.
Thank you very much.
Wait, am I letting go?
So we were coming back to the question of what you do after politics, and you brought up the question of history, so let me ask you this. If you had a time machine, you could go back to any point in history, or forward for that matter, where would you want to go?
Well, right now I'm writing a book on the Cobalt silver boom in 1909, 1908. I would love to be there. I mean, you've got people coming in from the Wild West, from Montana. You've got Syrian families moving in, Russian Jews moving into this little boom town in northern Ontario. I know it's my backyard, but wow. They had 2 professional hockey teams. Montreal Canadiens played their first game there. You had typhoid epidemics. You had anarchists. This is our own history. People don't know our own history. I'd be there.
I would imagine that there wouldn't be one Canadian in 100 who would know about the silver boom in Cobalt.
Well, they will learn soon enough. It's a fascinating story. So these are things I find really interesting. So when I'm not doing politics, I'm actually spend a lot of time at the libraries reading old newspaper articles, and you know, people were a lot wilder then, and things were a lot rougher then. Our Canadian history is it's such a bland sepia tone. Like, we were all raised in school, you know, we're really nice, we're really boring, nothing ever happened, we're not like those crazy Americans. Canada's a lot crazier of a place, and I think the more we learn about our history, the more we actually know why we are the way we are. So.
No, the question of Canadian values came up. You're talking about Canadian history and so on. Do you believe that there's such a thing as Canadian values?
I certainly think that we have Canadian values. I mean, we are a nation of immigrants. We're a nation of people brought from all over the place, and we've developed a certain way of being. And I think it's, I think what we have to be careful of, though, is being arrogant about it. I think Canadian values evaporate when we start getting bullish and pumping our chests. There's a quiet thing about Canadian values, and that's what makes it important. It's the more you look at it, the more you poke at it, the more fragile it becomes.
You're writing a book now on the silver boom in Cobalt. Once you've written that book, what's your next book? What's the book you would love to write?
Well, this will be book number 8. So I haven't got far to book number 9 yet. I just finished the book, The Children of the Broken Treaty, which came together surprisingly fast, and I think that may be my most important book so far. I don't know. I love history. Maybe one day it'll be a book on Canadian music. I haven't got that far yet, but there's great stories out there. You know, I mean, I guess that's, I'm always fascinated. It's one of the things I love about politics. I love talking to people. I love hearing their stories, and I want to learn more about them. And I think people are great. I mean, you know, it sounds trite, but I really like the people I represent. And especially, I love blue-collar people. There's just something about people who work hard and live hard. And I just, when I'm back home, I just love listening to people talking about their work, talking about their families. And I write songs about them. I write books. I speak about them in the house. I really, actually, to me, that's what politics should be. I
just want to point out, I don't want to bring up the leadership again, but that's Harrington Lake. And you can see the Prime Minister's summer residence. in that green lawn. So anybody who becomes the leader of a party and then wins an election gets to hang out there. I just wanted to bring that up to your attention again.
Well, if I become Prime Minister, I'm going to invite everybody I know from Northern Ontario, and we're going to have a bash there, and it'll be something. Where are the cops? Like it's going to go on all weekend if I become Prime Minister. I'll tell you, it'll be. But I haven't decided to run yet. But I'm glad to know there's a nice cottage down there. I got some friends up north with pretty nice cottages, but you know, we'll have to do a comparison.
I asked you what the most reaffirming thing was about politics. I want to turn that around.
Yeah.
What's the one thing about politics that bugs you more than anything else?
I really feel that Parliament should do better. I know that sounds trite, but I hate bogus answers. I hate being in a place as important as the House of Commons and seeing someone read something that was written for them by spin. I hate spin. I hate that the fact that we sometimes, to me, we're a Potemkin democracy. It's like we go through, you know, I want to thank the honorable member, and then they get up and they read something that some, you know, staffer wrote, and they don't even read it properly. I think we should have honest debates. I don't think we should have notes and speeches in the House. I think when you ask the question, want answers, and I think that's what I find frustrating. And I find frustrating is that things could be done cross-partisan more often, and we often just stick to the script, stick to the spin, and we let people down sometimes, a lot of times.
You know, there's been a lot of postmortems done about the last election, and of course your party got hit fairly badly in that election. From your perspective, what went wrong? I mean, the nugget of what went wrong.
I think that there was a real desire across Canada for a change. I mean, the politics of Stephen Harper had become so toxic, and there was so much, people were just tired of the fighting, and we didn't inspire. We were still focused on fighting Stephen Harper, and Justin Trudeau came up the other side and said, hey, I'll give you a sunny new world. And Justin ran a better campaign than us. You know, we got slam dunked on a whole bunch of stuff with some of them. It seemed always that whenever we'd come out with our cost-out platform, the Liberals would come out 2 days later and double it. And how do you beat that? But I think that people wanted hope, and we didn't give them that as much.
Do you think that going ahead that the party has to fundamentally rediscover itself again?
You know, what I feel really is important as New Democrats, we spend a lot of time arguing policy. We're a party of policy wonks. You know, we have a 5-point platform, a 15-point platform. We got a better policy. We got to show that we're more progressive than the other guys. It's not the policies, it's who we represent. And I feel that more and more in politics, people are tuning out of politics because they don't see themselves being spoken to. And the role of the New Democratic Party is to re-engage, and we know who it is that we're fighting for and why we're fighting for them. I think we lost that in the last election. I think we somehow forgot that there's real people that really need us, that there's real issues, and to talk to them. And so the leadership race really has to be about engaging ordinary Canadians who say all politicians are the same, people who are just struggling to get by, people who've got massive amount of debt but want their kids to get better. You know, politics can't solve every problem, but you got to be able to say to people, I got your back, and I'll fight like hell for you. I think that's the promise that people want to hear from a politician, and that's what we need to do as New Democrats.
It wasn't that long ago that some in the chattering classes were saying that for the Liberals to survive, they had to merge with the NDP. Is any chance that that has flipped itself, that the NDP should consider merging with the Liberals?
Well, ever since I've been elected, and long before I got active in the New Democratic Party, our obituaries are usually written in the fall and then again in the spring. that there is no role for us. But I look at Justin Trudeau. He ran on a progressive platform. People gave him an enormous mandate because he basically promised progressive left-wing change, but I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing a lot of great talk, but I'm seeing a lot of the old politics. The role of the New Democratic Party is to push, to fight, to bring change. And we'll do it with the Liberals. If they want to work on pension reform, we're there. If they want to actually follow through on making sure Indigenous kids get proper schools, we're there. But there's a real different political culture between us, and I think having healthy debate and different political cultures is important in a democracy. So don't write our obituary yet. There's probably about 40 more that'll be written before this party's done.
Charlie Angus, real pleasure to have you on Plain Talk. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Like, how the hell do I get out of this thing?
Well, we'll fly over the Parliament buildings. I'll just open the door.
Okay, okay,
yeah,
perfect, okay.
Just a quick drop off.
I'm late for a committee meeting, so if you just, I think just over there will be cool.
Okay. It's sort of like Uber.
Yeah, okay, Uber of the air, yeah.